Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Remember, you have greatness inside of you. Welcome back to another AB Daily News with your hockey coach, Coach FRENCHY. Today, episode number 302. What you have a menu, coach, today? First of all, guys, the Montreal Canadiens have a big headache because of the fifth overall pick. I'm going to tell you why. Then, my second subject is about the Montreal Canadiens with the fifth overall pick could move down. But before we start, we invite you, please don't forget to click on the like, subscribe to the Hockey Nation Live Show, and leave me a comment about this episode. And let's dive in talking about the first subject of the day. My first subject, guys, about the headache with the fifth overall pick for the Montreal Canadiens. They have the most difficult pick of the draft, I believe, because they have five top best players in this draft compared for the rest of the other players in the NHL prospect 2023. What the reason I'm talking about, guys, because after Connor Bedard, it's Fantilli, Carlson, Smith, and Michkov. You can taking or changing the ranking between Carlson, Smith, and Michkov, but they are the five top best players this year on the NHL draft 2023. Montreal going to face to the big decision because possible Michkov is going to be available at the fifth overall pick when Montreal have to do the selection. My biggest question to you guys today is, do you draft or not Michkov? One thing we have to remember, guys, Michkov is the best player since Ovechkin and Malkin from Russia. Michkov, he was the MVP at the hockey tournament U18 Mondial a couple years ago at 16 years old. He has the most points in one season in the MHL Junior. Finally, in the KHL this year, he got 20 points in 27 games. This is the best point per game like any players in the history of KHL at 17 years old. Just give you an idea what Michkov looked like. The way Michkov play, guy, is exactly if Montreal going to add Kucherov for the Montreal Canadiens. This is what he looked like, Michkov, at this young age. This is really big impact if Montreal can get a player like Kucherov if they draft Michkov. But yesterday we talked about this. It comes with some kind of problem before you select him. His contract until 25th, 26th, it would take 4 years before he reached the Montreal Canadiens. Secondly, during that time for the next 4 years, his development. This is the biggest question. Montreal could not do too much about his development. And finally, we know the situation with the war, and I don't want to go deep about this, but this is another big factors. With the other two factors, contract and development, could possibly for the Montreal Canadiens to be a little bit more cautious and maybe not select Michkov. One thing we learned last year when you follow Ken Hughes and Jeff Gordon, Montreal Canadiens want to select the best player is going to be at their best when they reach their maturity between 22 years old and 28 years old. This is something we learned last year when they draft Sarkowski or any other players. They want to select a players they project in the next couple of years to become one of the best players in the draft. And that's what, for me, this is the really an area where the Montreal Canadiens have to focus if they take the decision to take Michkov or not. One thing Montreal Canadiens has is a wild card. What are you talking about? But Pobrov, the scout for the Montreal Canadiens, he live in Russia. He watched and see many times Michkov. With his knowledge and born in Russia, they have a lot of connection inside the country, and you have a chance to really know who is Michkov. That reminds me, guys, a couple of years ago, the Columbus Blue Jacket, Kekäläinen from Finland, did a decision really surprised after he met a couple of times Puljujärvi in Finland. When the Columbus Blue Jacket have the third overall pick, they have a chance to select Puljujärvi, but they refuse to take him and they go with Pierre-Luc Dubois. And this is one reason I believe Montreal can have the kind of wild card, because Pobrov could really bring a lot of information about Michkov, not only the hockey player, but the human being, the character, and etc. So Bobrov could become a key major factor for the decision to select or not Michkov. But behind that, they have two teams before the Montreal Canadiens. If we assume Chicago select Bedard and the Anaheim select FRENCHY, we have Columbus or Blue Jacket. They have a choice to select Carlson, Smith, or Michkov, following by the San Jose Sharks. Whatever Columbus select one of the three, San Jose are going to have two options of the three players I just mentioned to you. Finally, Montreal Canadiens are going to select the last of the three players. Whatsoever Columbus or the San Jose select Michkov, that simplifies the decision of the Montreal Canadiens because they could select Smith or Carlson. That would be very interesting to see this until June, which team are going to select at the position number 3 and 4 of the overall pick in NHL Draft 2023. Back of what I said at the beginning, the Montreal Canadiens have the most difficult decision at the 5th overall pick because possible they have an option to select Michkov or pass for another players. And this is going to be really interesting to follow. I would like to hear from you guys because this is going to be a bigger subject for the next couple of weeks in NHL, the Michkov situation. As hockey fans, as hockey Montreal fans, would you like and do you think the Montreal Canadiens should or not select Michkov for the 5th overall pick by the Montreal Canadiens? Leave me comments and let's move on now, guys, for my second subject of the day. My second subject of the day, guys, is about from my first subject. What are you talking about? We know already Montreal Canadiens have the 5th overall pick. We just talked about Michkov. And do you think if ever they don't want to select Michkov, do you feel the Montreal could move down? What are you talking about, coach, again? You're crazy. But what I'm talking about, guys, is that Montreal could pass on Michkov and make a trade with the following team behind them. I'm talking about the Arizona 6, Philadelphia 7, Washington 8, Detroit 9. They are the only team I believe Montreal could move down. I'm talking a little bit more for this, the Washington Capitals as a number 8. In 2008, the Islanders trade with the Pittsburgh. They moved down from 5th to 7th. In return, they got not only the pick moved down, but they got a second round pick that year and a third round pick the following year. Can Montreal Canadiens make a trade with the Washington Capitals, example, and they get not only moved down from 5th to 8th, but with the 8th position, they could add a second round pick 2023, would become the 40 overall pick, second round, and they could add a third round pick in 2024. Again, this is a suggestion. Could happen for the Montreal Canadiens if the Canadiens is a bit concerned to select Michkov 5th overall pick. Now, the following players are the ones could Montreal get at the 8th pick overall between Leonard, Benson, Dewaski, Reinbacher, Oliver Moore, or Gabe Perreault. Depends what the Arizona at 6, and depends what the Flyers at 7 are going to select. Montreal still have a really solid player at their 8th overall pick. If they don't select Michkov, I think it would be the best for Montreal to move down. My question for you guys is, would you like or do you think is a good idea for the Montreal Canadiens move down from the 5th overall pick to the 8th overall pick and to add 1 or 2 more picks? Please leave me a comment about my second suggestion about move down for the Montreal Canadiens. That's conclude, guys, all the subject I have for this episode. Here we go. Another great episode of the HABS Daily News with the hockey coach, Coach FRENCHY. But before we leave, we invite you, please, don't forget to click on the like, subscribe to the Hockey Nation Show. Leave me a comment about Michkov or not, or Montreal move down or not. And of course, we want to remind you, you have greatness inside of you, and we wish you an amazing, great, blessing day, everybody.